let's rank these Assassin's Creed games. So we're gonna start off with Odyssey. Odyssey is mid at best. Some people really like the RPG aspects and elements of it, but Odyssey was a huge world, huge map, but it was nothing in it. It's essentially just a wasteland with a few populated areas. Couple that with the grind wall and the pretty slow pacing of the campaign, Odyssey was just another step. I don't know if I would call it a step in the right direction, but it was just another step. So for Assassin's Creed Syndicate, I would actually rank a B. However, my playthrough, I can only go off of my personal experiences, and Syndicate has been, it was really buggy, it was really glitchy, the handling wasn't the greatest, and the gameplay was it wasn't accommodating for a lot of the players. So Syndicate, as much as I would want to give B, London was really, really cool. Unfortunately, I have to give it a C rank because of the flaws that it had. Assassin's Creed Unity, I'm actually going to give a B. The animations and the parkour and the fluidity and the traversal I thought was almost groundbreaking, right? We had other games that were doing parkour. We've had, and it's mostly been shooters. We have Brink, we have Dying Light, but none have been as fluid and just aesthetically pleasing. If anything, this was a step in the right direction for the type of traversal that all Assassin's Creeds should have had going forward. Good old Assassin's Creed 3. Assassin's Creed 3 we're also going to put in the B rank. I would put it in the A rank because going to Assassin's Creed, coming off of Brotherhood, we had you could now go into like trees and you could run, jump, climb. You didn't even have to touch the ground. And then when you did touch the ground, now you could slide under obstacles. You could you really had the freedom of movement, right? I would put that in the A tier, but unfortunately, once again, this game was riddled with bugs. The story and campaign, while it sounded a lot better on paper, but the story was starting to get a little convoluted, and the pacing, in my opinion, was really slow, right? It was really on the slower side. Assassin's Creed 4, I would actually give S tier, but we are not giving S tier to Assassin's Creed 4. We are giving A tier to Assassin's Creed 4. The reason why it does not get S is because Assassin's Creed 4 is not an Assassin's Creed game. It's a pirate game. However, it is still the best pirate game we have gotten. It's better than Sid Meier's. It's better than Sea of Thieves. I don't know how they messed up Skull and Bones, but Assassin's Creed Black Flag is still one of the best pirate games we've gotten. Assassin's Creed Origins, unpopular opinion, but that also goes to A rank, right? We were getting an Assassin's Creed game every single year, and they were starting to get really shallow. They were really vapid. They were riddled with a bunch of flaws, tech bugs. But then they took a 2-year break. They came out with Origins, completely redone. And Origins, I thought this was the best thing that Ubisoft could have done for Assassin's Creed. This was probably the best decision that they made, just pivoting into, it wasn't as stealth focused, but you still had stealth options. You still had action options. You could ride through the desert and there would be mirages, and you could climb the pyramids. And I, for one, in my opinion, I thought the campaign was really well done. I thought the actors and the voice actors, I thought their performances were really well done. There was a ton of content, and there was always something new to discover, right? Whether you were sailing on your little canoe boats in the rivers or you were flying, as your eagle up top, right? Strategizing how you were going to do one of your missions. Origins was so awesome for Assassin's Creed Origins, which is why Assassin's Creed Odyssey is such a blunder and was such a mess, because it took what was great about Origins and then arguably made it worse. And the fact that they forced you into grind walls is something that I don't know if people like that. Me personally, I don't like that. So I'm actually going to put Odyssey down into a D, right? All bias. Odyssey was not anything, they didn't make anything better from Origins going into Odyssey. It was just more of Origins, but shallower and with an uninteresting story. Assassin's Creed 2. Assassin's Creed 2 by many is loved, is considered one of the best. However, it is not. And I'm going to put it in the A category because while it was still really good, it still had its flaws. They got rid of the redundancy that was from Assassin's Creed, from the first Assassin's Creed. They redid the hand-to-hand combat. However, when it came to the parkour system and the hand-to-hand, the main means of traveling was very sticky and it was very assumptive. And they tried to, when you would be running towards a structure, the game would try to predict where you wanted to go. So you'd run towards a wall, you'd run up it, but then he'd jump backwards. Or you'd be running, you'd jump to this structure, but then he would just walk and fall off of the edge. Assassin's Creed 2 would be an S tier if its technical flaws didn't hold it back. And being introduced into Ezio, really, this was really when the Creed games started to take off, because with Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, best Assassin's Creed game, you can't argue it. There's no arguing. Brotherhood is the best Assassin's Creed game, right? Some people say it was dumbed down because you had the chain link kills, and I would say that it is a little dumbed down. Towards the it was worse in Revelations, but in Brotherhood, it had the best balance of everything. It had the best balance for your counter kills. You had the different weapons that you could fight your different enemies with. The hand-to-hand combat was finally polished. The parkour system was polished. Brotherhood took everything Assassin's Creed 1 and Assassin's Creed 2 did, fixed all the problems, made them better, and it left with one of, the biggest cliffhangers ever in the franchise. Which leads to number one. I will give A tier in number one. Assassin's Creed coming up, which, for those of you who don't know, it was supposed to be a Prince of Persia game. I believe it was called Prince of Persia Assassins. I think that was the code name for it. But Assassin's Creed was revolutionary in gaming at the time. There was no other games that had that mix of action and stealth. Right? It did a perfect job of making you feel like you were the top dog, the top fighter, the top assassin, right? You had your gadgets, you had your loadouts, you had your gear, right? You had the throwing knife, and it was so cinematic in the way during the dialogue, during the cutscenes, and then the cutscenes, they were even interactive, and if you hit all the interactives, then you ended up getting achievements, right? This is when the 360 came out and achievements were starting to be a thing, and they were really utilizing the technology of the engine in the game. Assassin's Creed 1, some people would say would probably be in B tier just because of the redundancy of the missions, right? Assassin's Creed 1 is pretty lengthy. It is a little redundant, not a little redundant, it is redundant. Let me not take that. But once again, it was the first of its kind, right? And even going back and playing it today, you can, you can play it on the marketplace, you can play it on an emulator, you can, however the means. The first Assassin's Creed, in my opinion, is still the best controlled and best handling Creed game to date. Every mechanic was almost flawless, virtually flawless. But I give an A, especially, once again, especially considering it was the first one and the first of its kind, still one of the best Assassin's Creed games. You had Rogue and you had Liberation. And Assassin's Creed Liberation, Ubisoft really hit a narrative stride in Assassin's Creed 3. I think this was when they decided to start committing to making Assassin's Creed a mainstay franchise, right? It's one of their staple franchises. It makes the most amount of money right out of the studio, and being historical fiction, the possibilities are endless, right? As long as you can execute it right, it's endless. So Liberations, right? It was the DLC to Assassin's Creed 3, and you were a French woman, and granted, it wasn't a very long story, but it was still good the way that it interplayed and the way that it weaved in to Assassin's Creed 3. But in my opinion, it was still, now that I'm thinking, I might move 3 down to C, and I might put Liberations at B tier, actually. And not to say, if I could put Assassin's Creed 3 between B and C, that's what I would do. That's what I would do. It's almost B grade. Assassin's Creed 3 was so cool, especially, like I said, when they started to lean into the historical fiction aspect, right? Running around with the George Washington, right? Campaign and everything, going through the Civil War. Super, super cool, man. It was super cool. And then Assassin's Creed Rogue. Me personally, it was just more of the same of Assassin's Creed 4, but it was less than what we got. There wasn't much to the story in Rogue, right? Some people would argue, but if we're talking like canon, right? If we're talking the main story, and we're talking, Apple of Eden era and whatnot, Assassin's Creed Rogue, that's why it was released on the side consoles and the handhelds, and it wasn't a built up marketed release. Rogue was just more of like a subplot, side quest. That's how Ubisoft treated it. Was, hey, we got all the main stuff, but here's just something a little extra, right? Rogue is its own game, but when standing up and competing, you're just, once again, Rogue didn't do anything in its own right to set itself apart from the rest of the Creed games. It was really just more of an add-on. Revelations was a really cool game because it was the tie-in of the Ezio trilogy, right? Some people argue that the Ezio trilogy is actually the best time of Assassin's Creed. It was kind of the golden era of Assassin's Creed. And Revelations, it wasn't without flaw. It was really short. The chain kill aspects it really made the game feel like dumbed down. You were no longer playing the game feeling like an assassin, feeling like a warrior, right? Feeling like a master swordsman. The game was starting to do everything for you. And this was also during a time in the industry when games were very tutorial heavy. They were very hand-holdy. They were really, I don't want to say pandering to make it sound bad, but it was an attempt at full accessibility, right? Making sure everyone could play your games. So a lot of the mechanics were borderline automated in Revelations. And now that I see Revelations and number 2 sitting next to Assassin's Creed 1, I gave Creed, the first Creed, too much praise for it not to be in the S tier. Assassin's Creed 1 goes into the S tier. Hands down. Hands down. Assassin's Creed Chronicles was something different. It was all of the same. However, it was still a really cool addition to the franchise if you like platformers. If you like platformers, Chronicles, right? You can beat all three of them in a day if you rush it, right? Maybe 2 or 3 days. You know, it's nothing intense, it's nothing crazy, it's not, but it is good fun. You don't regret playing them. I would say if you like side scrollers, if you like platformers, there's 3 of them and it's worth the money, right? And then the way that they incorporate you know, the like art culture into the games, right? In Russia, in China, and in India, they really paid the culture a favor. They really praised it in a really cool way, right? They're stylistic, they're artsy, nothing's too complicated. In my opinion, nothing was super broken as far as mechanics and gameplay goes. There weren't too many balancing issues. A lot of people sleep on the Chronicles series, but they've never played them just because they're side scrollers. And what you will find in playing the side scrollers is a lot of enjoyment. Assassin's Creed Mirage is an F. No, but really, I did not enjoy Assassin's Creed Mirage. It seemed like it was a cop out of a release of a game. It really felt like a glorified DLC. It took what was, and you know what? I just realized Valhalla isn't on here. My scroll wheel is broken. Jesus Christ. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, I will put in the B series. However, Assassin's Creed Valhalla suffered from its own redundancy, which I will put in the C, which you might say, well, Jake, that's super hypocritical, right? You gave a lot of praise to Assassin's Creed 1, but then you condemn Valhalla for the same thing. And the reason why is because context, right? Once again, Assassin's Creed 1 was the first of its kind, the first to do it. You know, they haven't explored everything. However, with Assassin's Creed Valhalla being what, the number 9, number 10 in the series, you had 1, 2, 3, right? Brotherhood, Revelations, Rogue, Syndicate, Unity, Origins, Odyssey. With Valhalla being number 11 in the series, in the franchise, there's no excuses why the game should be vapid. There's no reason why the game should feel dumbed down. And I caught myself exploring a lot. I thought the story was interesting. I did think that going through the world and going through the map and just traveling and exploring, and right, and they were kind of coming off of the back of The Witcher. So as you would explore the map, you know, you would find little things to do, you would find little quests, and you know, the world was interesting to explore. It was a lot smaller. The map was smaller than Odyssey. However, they corrected what Odyssey got bad, and Odyssey once again was very bloated but empty, right? It was massive yet empty. And Valhalla was smaller, it was more concentrated, it had a lot more content, but it did, in my opinion, suffer a little bit from its redundancy. And so I would give Valhalla a B. However, like I said, this far in the series, going to they should have learned from all their mistakes. So therefore, I give Assassin's Creed Valhalla a C, rounding off the entire franchise. From the disrespect that was Mirage, you know, bottoming out the whole series, to the bloated and boringness of Odyssey, to the C tier games, you know, where it was a good effort, you know, they were doing some things right, but its technical flaws really held it back, to the B tier, where that was where it starts to shine when Ubisoft focuses, when they keep their games focused on a certain direction, on a certain aspect, to the A tier, where they are doing everything right, right? With Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, they implemented that ocean system and that engine. We had the ship sailing, the ship battles. They did it right the first time. Into Origins, where they completely redid the Assassin's Creed franchise formula to what we know of it now. Their first time doing it, and they did it right the first time. With Assassin's Creed 2, they took a lot of the issues from Assassin's Creed 1, especially with the campaign and just some of its flaws and blunders, and they fixed them, implemented new features and revelations as well on that same. Technically, it was more polished than Assassin's Creed 2, but its campaign length and its assist-heavy controls is what held it back. To the S-tier Assassin's Creeds, number one, and even, you know, if I insert a little bias, Altair is my favorite assassin, but once again, it was the first of its kind. It still, to this day, plays better than all the games below it, right? Once again, these are video games, so it's the gameplay that is the most important aspect, and it still plays better, right? The campaign might have been a little redundant. The quests, you know, might have been repetitive. However, once again, it is one of the most solid games from a gameplay aspect, with all its features and all of its different traits, all of its different weapons, the counter system, the cutscenes, etc. Leading to Brotherhood being the best Assassin's Creed game. It took all the flaws from number 2, fixed them, made them better, and the only aspect, right? Because I know some people we're gonna talk about it. I know some people are gonna mention it, so I will mention it. The elephant in the room with Brotherhood was the tower defense that was in the game, and the tower defense aspect was pretty bad. However, it was optional. It was not required, unlike the grind wall that was required in Odyssey. So let me know what you think of this tier list. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Did I get anything wrong recounting the franchise as we've known it since 2007? Right? What do you think Shadows is going to be like? How do you think the new Assassin's Creed is going to fare? What do you think we're going to get different? What do you think we're going to get the same? Are we going to be in the little canals of you know, feudal Japan, riding, you know, little boats? Are they gonna implement that system? Is it gonna be a little bit like Tenchu, right, where we really feel like a ninja? Or is it gonna be like Ghost of Tsushima, where we're really gonna feel like a samurai? Let me know in the comments below, and thank you for watching.